We have to be right with ourselves in a way to be able to do anything outside of the iwi. So if we weren't right within Ngāti Awa, then the other things that we needed to do externally with the Crown or with other iwi wouldn't work. And I whānui for the iwi, which was we can do this together, but if we don't stay together, we're not going to be successful. I think the balancing between the tikanga and the kawa and the ao hurihuri or the contemporary world, but I think it challenges us because we don't live in the old way anymore, and the papakainga necessarily around the pā and everybody mahitahi and has a shared garden, and some places they still do, but I think what they've left for us is that for us to be us today as Ngāti Awa, we have to hang on to those things regardless of everything else that happens around us. So we have, in our settlement legislation, we have 22 hapu, 2 of which are urban hapu, Ngāti Awa ki Pōneke, Ngāti Awa ki Tāmaki Makaurau. That how do we create connections, because this was before we had Facebook and YouTube and everything else, so it was around how do we keep people connected to who they are and still give them a voice and recognise the reality of living in the city. So what we have our runanga which has got 2 subsidiaries. One is a charitable trust which is basically designed to develop the people and the social cultural benefits for Ngāti Awa, and we have a group holding company who have the mandate to be commercial in totality. We went through a process called Vision Ngāti Awa, ko Ngāti Awa Te Toke, and we went out to the people, and it was an aspirational visioning hui, and we had focus groups with different sections of Ngāti Awa, so rangatahi, mamas, a whole range of at the pās, at the marae, and just sort of said, what's your aspirations for Ngāti Awa in the future? And the 3 priorities that came back were our identity, language and culture as Ngāti Awa, caring for the most vulnerable, being our kaumātua, and realising rangatahi potential.
Relationships with external stakeholders, how have they gone? But more importantly, the first question, has your relationship with the Crown improved as a result of the settlement and what you're trying to achieve?
I don't think it's improved. There's so much churn inside the Crown, and a lot of it for us is based on relationships, and so if another party comes to Parliament and then they change the policy, and like the OTS policy is so much different from when we settled, so it was quite adversarial when we were going through our settlement. Now they're encouraging claimants to go and talk to each other and have this open kōrero where it was all kind of like cloak and dagger kind of stuff, and you saw each other in court. So I don't think it has improved. I'm talking about the Crown. I was surprised that there was no, in 2005, because there's quite a lot of number of settlements that happened at that time, but I was surprised that there was no Crown agency at that time that was charged with monitoring settlements, reviewing, measuring success, picking up policy issues and taking them back into, so I think that's changed a little bit. I understand in Ministry of Justice they've now got a monitoring kind of unit set up, but there's nothing that sort of was an enabler within the Crown. It was sort of like, here's your settlement,
go and do it.
Yeah, so and I think that's a barrier, because you need enablers still after settlement. And it's not just about us getting on the page, it's actually about government, Crown getting on the page of being an enabler.
And moving with you. What about the relationship with local government? Has that improved?
Yeah, I think it has, and I think it has in some areas, particularly with our probably with our regional council. But for instance, we have statutory recognition over the awa behind us. It's not monitored or implemented through any of our councils. We've been settled for 12 years. We're still having a conversation about our awa and our rocks, and that can be a little bit frustrating, having to repeat things that we thought we understood. I think again that they're catching up, because in Mātātua now there's Ngāti awa, Ngāti whare, Ngāti manawa, Ngāi tūhoi, and Te Whakatohea is on the cusp of settling. So there's actually going to be probably about 7 or 8 settled iwi who will be the economic powerhouse for the Eastern Bay of Plenty, and I think they've still got to catch up with us and get on our page in some respect. And that takes actually goodwill and a willingness to do that, and sometimes it's easier to just do the status quo.
If we were just kind of thinking futuristically, and you made the point that the impact of settlements within your region and how it could really change the face of things, what are some of the things that you can see happening with good relationships just across the group, for example?
Oh, I think we could do some amazing things, like in some ways our isolation is our strength, but it's also a weakness. So we have like a number of opportunities for tourism, as an example, coming through here, Mautohora or Whakaari, Mautohora, Whakatāne, Te Urawera, up into Te Whaiti with Ngāti, like there's quite a lot of opportunity there. I think that we could collectively realise and tell our own story and still be work together but autonomous ourselves. I think that's an opportunity. And we can do that ourselves. We don't, it just takes the time, really. I don't know if any of us have got the time. I think there might be willingness, but not enough time. I think the other thing is that as Mātātua waka, there's some opportunities for us to share our mātauranga to bring through the next generation, whether it's in cultural sort of development or social or commercial, or have internships where we swap staff around and we kind of grow that way, or even governance at a governance level, that we mentor each other, and that's actually how it used to be. Was the old people would say, oh, I know the person that we need, and they bring them in, and that person helps you for that time, and then you reciprocate that in another way or at another time when you're called on. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us here in Mātātua. We have probably more things in common than not, eh? Yeah. And I think we all want the same thing. We want our iwi to be successful. We want our kids to be well educated and have options and choice. And so I think that's quite exciting. And the other thing that's interesting in Mātātua is that there's the women CEOs are myself, Te Whakatohea, Ngāi tūhoi, Ngāti whare. So so that's tūturu kia whakatāne au. So I think, as women too, we might be a little bit easier to collaborate. That's just an observation, I suppose.
I think it's a strong observation, because women will cut through whatever's necessary to get to the end, get to the outcome. So, I was thinking in terms of the comments you make around coming back to connection and just the intergenerational connection, the geographic connection and all of that. Is there anything you think, in terms of your experience in Ngāti Awa, that you think we're kind of all grappling with the same issues? Maybe these are the ways we should be thinking about it. Have you got anything we could learn from in terms of your experience?
Well, one of the things that's emerging here is we have a pai peke peke, and by that I mean, so we have a small number of people sitting on our pai, and they go throughout the iwi and sit on different pai, because we don't have that number of Pākeke anymore, I suppose, or the language or the level of language, or people are at work or whatever it might be. So in that way, sometimes here at home it can feel like a few are carrying the burden of the many, if I can say it in that way, not a, you know, or they're carrying the lot of the many to keep the ahi kā going. And so what sometimes emerges is maybe some questioning about, well, it's okay for you, you're in Auckland, but us at home, we're trying to do this, and we're, you know, working, and we're trying to keep it all going as well. So that's something that's emerging, because as we've seen the decline in te reo amongst Ngāti awa, and we have a young population like every other iwi, those are some of the questions that are now being asked, is like, how, you know, yes, you may be living in Tāmaki Makaurau and you go to Ngāti awa ki Tāmaki Makaurau as an example, but actually you're from Te Teko and your marae is X, and so what are you contributing to your home marae? So they're sort of getting asked twice.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's being resolved, because you can't be in two places at once, but you are still from Te Teko, but you live in Auckland. So I don't know if it's something to learn, but it's sort of a tension. Yeah. And when it's hard at home, everyone feels it at home, because we're all sharing that and see it. And when you don't live here and you're away, you mightn't see it in the same way. So those are some questions, I suppose, that are coming out.
How does Ngāti awa resolve any internal conflicts? Is there like a formula? I know that you spoke a lot about tikanga previous. Is there a particular Ngāti awa way of, you know, when the going gets tough within the whānau, you know, you've got a certain way of sorting it out?
Yeah, well, we have a charter which was established under the runanga to our rules, basically how we're going to operate and have elections and govern and that. And in the charter it established a whakaruruhau position, and they were to make the peace when issues arose around tikanga and kawa in particular. And that position's held by our Pākeke at the moment in our iwi. But I think we still revert back to key people in the iwi who are the connectors. They're the people people trust. They live by the example, and they role model the behaviour that we're aspiring to. Or so we have a kind of formal process, I suppose, set up, but really we also do it ourselves in our own way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think every iwi are finding a way to try and, you know, do it their own iwi way. So, you know, there's a lot to be gained from living your values. So just maybe I'll end on that in terms of Ngāti awa values and the vision or the hope for the next generation. What are the, you know, if I was just, you know, tino kuare tēnei tātou, but, you know, what are the values of Ngāti awa that will guide the next generation?
Tuatahi me ki ko te aroha ki te tangata, te whakapono, me te tika, koira pia nā tikanga o mātou. We've been fortunate to have, I think, great leaders. We need to do better in succession planning, or whatever we want to call it, bringing the next ones through. But I think I think those would probably be our values, and they're also based around kupu ōhaki that we've had either from te kōti, through the Ringatu Church, or through our Pākeke, is aroha ki te tangata i te tuatahi. Te whakapono me te tika.
Yeah, just on that, next year's a big year for prophetic movements, so you know, Ringatu, Rātana, Kīngitanga, all the prophecies are kind of coming together next year, so it gives us a lot of hope. So, you know, for in terms of the guiding statements for the next generation beyond Ngāti Awa and Te Māori, and we're here at the Leaders Forum. What do you get a sense that the aspiration is amongst iwi?
I think we want to be ourselves, and we're kind of getting a bit hoha of having to justify. We want to be ourselves. We're getting hoha. We're not trying to assimilate the world like some other cultures. We just want to be ourselves, and we want that to be enough, and not have to make it valid in somebody else's perspective. That's my kind of take, is we want to be ourselves, and we want to be our true selves. And one of the words that's going around is authentic selves. But
what's that?
What's that? I don't know how authentic that is, but I think we just want to be ourselves, and we're happy for other people to be themselves. Just let us be ourselves, you know. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you.
Ko te mihi mai ho mai a Ngāti Ngāti Apoto ki a Ngāti Awa mō tēnei wāhanga kia noho tahi tāua ki te whiriwhiri kōrero mō tēnei kaupapa.
Kia ora koe.
Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora.
Awesome.